It's a great time to be in London. It's fantastic. Reminds me of the P.G. Wodehouse novels that we used to read describing how London is in the springtime. Fantastic weather, spring is in the air, wedding buzz. I made sure that my ticket is on Sunday, just in case I get an invite. Still working on it. But just for the record, I'm not jumping on the royal bandwagon. I've been watching the TV show, the American TV show Suits, for a long time. So big fan of the show. Fan of Meghan before she met Harry. So just saying. So I'm here to talk about the Anaplan roadmap. And you heard Frank talk about the vision that he laid out for connected planning. And then a fantastic panel after that. Great to hear from the wonderful minds, our founder, Michael, our partner, Piyush, as well as our customer, Anubhav. I just have one quibble. They pretty much said everything I wanted to say, so. But I'm going to repeat a lot of the themes, and it's interesting to see a lot of these great technologies emerge. What I'm going to try to do is paint the picture for what the Anaplan platform is evolving to, what is available today, what's coming up in the near future, as well as where we are headed, and kind of take what Frank laid out as a vision for the future and kind of ground it into what's now, what's immediate, and where are the investments happening within the platform. So I'll take one click down, and then there are a lot of breakouts as well that you'll get the double click down and get the detail. But I want to take us back to what Frank talked about, what connected planning is, the elements of connected planning. And I'll take a roadmap-centric view of this. What does it imply for us? So we actually did a really interesting exercise with our customer advisory board 2 months ago at our Vegas hub. So we asked them, that these are customers who've been using the product for a while, right? So we asked them, when you think about Anaplan and the value that you get, name Anaplan in one single word. And we got tons of great words. It was a great exercise, powerful, transformative, customizable, adaptable, dynamic. Lot of synonyms for dynamic. And the reason they say that is that the platform allows them to be dynamic. So all the great things that they can use the platform for today, which is around the multidimensional modeling that they can do, the fact that they can change the hierarchies relatively quickly to respond to changes in their market. One of the customers that I spoke to before from Google, the Google Cloud sales business, the business operations leader characterized their use of the platform as such. They said, and Google is great for building their own stuff, right? So we all know that. They love to do their own thing. And they tried this for a few years, and they chose Anaplan because of the customizability of the platform. And it's a platform that they needed. They did not want a shrink-wrapped software. And you heard Peter talk about it as well, Peter from Carter's in the video earlier. So dynamic is key. The platform features that allow this dynamic nature of connected planning will continue to invest more. So we're already investing in things like application lifecycle management to allow the modelers to make sure that they can build quickly in a very systematic way. So modelers are going to be pretty key for us. We recently introduced another feature called dynamic selective access, which means that you can do much more fine-grained controls on your models. Again, more features that allows our customers to be dynamic. Collaboration. Collaboration is absolutely critical. We know that. And the platform, the Anaplan platform, one of the key strengths is the fact that you can have hundreds, thousands of users come in at the same time, and the core Hyperblock technology allows all these users to be working on different parts of the model at the same time, and it has the performance to allow you to make it your single source of truth for planning. So you heard that as well when Dave from Bacardi was talking about the fact that now we have Anaplan as a platform, the single source of truth that allows us to be collaborative. Intelligent has always been a key part of the platform. The way you can set up the formulae, the way you can actually create statistical methods has always been part of the platform from the beginning. So let me take it down one more level. So when I think about what we are doing in the platform and the main areas of focus in terms of our roadmap, There are three key themes that we are working on today, and we'll continue to work on in the near future as well. One is user experience. And the days of enterprise software being delivered to customers, to deliver to you with just features without great user experience is gone, right? So we're all spoiled. In our personal lives, we are delighted by the kinds of user experiences that we get, and we bring that to our businesses. We demand that from our ERP systems, we demand that from our CRM systems, and we demand that from our planning systems. So user experience is going to be critical. I'll cover this in a bit. Intelligent planning, we talked about that as one of the core tenets of connected planning. So there are multiple ways we are thinking about the journey for intelligent planning. So I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as well. And then the last key leg of the stool for us is to make sure that we serve large enterprises. This is really important, and we've always been built that way to be able to scale, but we need to continually do the work. We've been cloud native from the beginning, obviously, right? So that's how we started. And that's how we differentiate and compete against the other providers that are out there, the legacy providers. And we have that scalability built into the platform, but we're doing even more things on scalability. We're making sure that you're able to do imports much faster. The model performance is always one of those things that our engineers are constantly working on to tweak and improve. So those are some of the recent changes we made around scalability. We are also making sure that we are investing in the next generation of platform to make sure that we deliver a more horizontally scalable, distributed platform so you can scale up to large enterprises at the levels that you desire. Security. Security is pretty key, and there are two aspects of security for us from an enterprise success perspective. The first one is to make sure that the cloud security is solid. It's rock solid, that we have the right kinds of separations of duty. So we're doing more work in that regard, giving more access control, more different roles in the product. And you can hear a little bit more detail in one of the breakout sessions later that's run by Rupert, one of the product directors. The other part of security is enterprise security features. So we have this great capability called Bring Your Own Key that provides an additional level of security for those industries, customers in banking, that allow you to manage, bring your own key. And we think we are one of the very few providers in the cloud who are able to give you this feature. Again, in the planning context for certain industries, this is fantastic. And we already have several customers live on production, and we are going to do even more in terms of BYOK features. Integration is core. So you heard the previous panel. Bringing that data into the planning system is absolutely important. I couldn't see from the back what you guys ordered in terms of bringing all the data sources in, but I suspect that you said, yeah, it's really important for planning purposes. And we have a solid stable of tools for customers to bring the data in, OEM tools like Hyperconnect that we've got from Informatica, other connectors that we have worked on, and we continually improve the options there as well. And then in terms of governance, one of the key selling points for Anaplan has always been the fact that it can be a business platform, right? So the business can own it, but however, the IT needs to have the right governance. The IT organizations, the CIO organizations need to have the right governance models built in. And we have several features like Business Map, for example, that allows you to see the connectivity of the different models, how they link together, what are the imports and exports happening between models, and trace it back in a highly visual way. I talked about ALM. That's very key to governance as well, the application lifecycle management piece. Audit trails and more audit features that we have recently implemented on the platform. So lots of work that's happening on the platform by our engineers, by our teams, by our product teams. So I'm here representing that entire team, the extended team of engineers, QA people, the tech ops team, product, UX, who are all very keen to get the feedback from the customers directly and make sure that they work on this. And one of the things that Frank was talking about earlier was how we have increased the velocity. So just for context, over the last 12 months, we have released about twice the number of releases to our customers, feature-facing releases in addition to infrastructure work. So it's been great. So I want to give a quick round of applause to the folks that are in the back end, helping us get the platform to the level that you demand of us. And they'll probably see my recording. I want to make sure I acknowledge them. So, So let's dive into each of these areas. User experience. So there are three things that I want to talk about in terms of user experience. There are some immediate improvements that we are making on the current UI. It ranges all the way from fairly significant features like personal save dashboards, the ability to save your settings for the end user. These are all targeted towards the end user. Traditionally, we've been fantastic at reaching the modelers. Now we are making sure that we're doing more on the end user experience side. So the idea is that if you're working on a trade promotions in your particular area that might be different in different regions, and you have certain settings in terms of the regions you go to, your column settings, your pivots, and your filters, now you can save it, and the end user, when they come back in, the model gets loaded in memory, their settings are saved. User filters, so we are doing even more work in terms of giving you the capability to have users as a native part of your filters, and this has a lot of implications for your model builders. And some simple features like calculation on the fly. This is the ability to highlight a row or set of cells and make sure that you get a quick sum and other key metrics, key numbers down at the bottom. And that might sound like a simple thing, but it's a great way to get people who are used to Excel onto the platform so that you can get all the planning participants in one platform. Quick toolbar, again, quick usability improvements. Images, the idea of supporting images so that you have use cases like merchandise assortment and so on, where this becomes really critical. So that's going to come onto the platform pretty quickly, too. And there are many more smaller to medium-sized features that we are incorporating into the platform as part of the roadmap. The second key area, which we've been super excited and we've been investing a lot in, is process workflow. And we launched process workflow 2 months ago to our early access customers. We have about 20 customers who are actively testing it out in early access. And the idea is that with the planning platform, you want to shorten those planning cycle times, right? You want to bring all your planning participants, regardless of their geos, regardless of their levels, wherever the planning process touches them, you want to take away the emails, you want to take away the processes outside of the platform. So process workflow allows you to do that by connecting these planning within the functions, outside, and also guiding the planning participants. So this becomes really critical. And the way we are doing it is through notifications, links to dashboards, user-specific task boards, and so on. So for example, this is a screenshot of a task board. This is specific to me as a user. I come in, and I know exactly what are the things that I need to do, so that I can click on it. I might be involved in multiple different planning processes, whether it's providing input or it might be an approval that I need to do. So whatever that might look like, this particular UI will take them directly to that point. And they could have come in through mobile devices or through a notification. And once they are there, this is the critical part. They're actually directed right to the model where they need to provide that input, or where they need to get that data, or where they need to approve. So the guidance is really important. The fact that it's connected to the model is really critical. So we are not out there trying to replace workflow systems or BPM systems. We are making sure that for the planning process, you have the right workflow capability to make life easier for your end users and bring them into the planning cycle. So again, you can see more. Bill Maggs, who's a product director for workflow, is going to have a more detailed breakout session, and you can get a better idea of what that looks like. We are also making a lot of investment to actually upgrade our user experience in a very significant way. The dashboards, we're really reimagining it so that it gives you a really intuitive end user experience. It's just making it much more modern, much more adaptable for end users who are business users, who are not sophisticated users, who are coming in and touching the platform occasionally. And even for your sophisticated users, this should be a great user experience that we are developing now. And we are going to launch this in the second half of the year. So you'll start seeing it making its way into the platform in the second half. Personalization will be built in. I talked about a little bit of personalization earlier. Now you'll have a lot more options in terms of personalization in the new user interface. Multiple form factors obviously built in as well. And we have a breakout session on this, but real quick, just to give you a glimpse of what this might look like, much more streamlined, simplified, consistent navigation, highly customizable. This is for the end user. They can actually drag and drop the different widgets on the board. And of course, planning is about managing a lot of data, right? So we have actually redesigned the how you manage the data in these grids, synchronize the scrolling, having kind of stacking grid pages, context panels on the right to get you to go to the right place, right piece of information, regardless of what your use case might be. And of course, if you come in with different form factors, mobile device, you might still be using a lot of data with a tablet. But on the other hand, if you come in with a phone, you probably want to manage only small amounts of data, and it's very specific, task-driven. So some of the use cases we're thinking about for a native mobile experience is executive-level dashboards, which you want to take a quick look at, or specific use cases like incentive comp management type of planning use cases where a sales rep on the fly is interacting in a very limited way, or workflow, right? So those are the kinds of examples that we're thinking about for a true native experience. So we're working on all this for the second half. So that's the user experience piece. Intelligence. So I'm going to switch gears now and talk quickly about intelligence in the platform. We have a lot of methods already built in into the platform, a lot of stat methods, a lot of algorithms, curve smoothing type algorithms, seasonality, intermittent demand, use case specific algorithms like Erlang for call centers. So all of these are already available, and customers use this quite a bit today to actually go and look at their past history, do regression analysis, and see all those options at the bottom, see what the best fit is, and pick the right algorithms for doing their planning. So this is already available, and taking it to the next level, the second part of intelligence in the platform is Optimizer. So we launched Optimizer 2 months ago, and optimization is about driving to a particular business outcome based on a huge number of variables subject to certain constraints, right? Simply put, that's what you're trying to do. As an example, you might have a supply network, and you might have 2 or 3 options in your extended supply chain, right? Your distribution centers, your different transportation options, your customer channels, and so on. But once you start thinking about how to optimize this for, let's say, lowering your cost across your entire supply chain, you can quickly see that this goes into the hundreds and thousands of options that you need to work through. And the solution always used to be, yes, we can solve that. There are solutions out there that solve it, but requires programming, very heavy lifting. So what we have done is brought it all together into Anaplan, made it UI-driven, so it's easy to set this problem up within Anaplan. It's model-based, so you can actually set the problem up and use your Anaplan modules to drive the optimizer function, set up your variables, set up your constraints, and then use one of the fastest optimization engines in the market that we have incorporated into Anaplan now. So now you can start doing scenario planning very quickly, right? So now it gets to what Frank talked about, driving that decision-making from your planning, bringing it closer together. Now it's much more powerful. It used to be that you had to do this, go away, come back in a few hours, and then find the results. Now you can do it in Anaplan. You can set up some examples at the bottom, indicate that you can actually use the Anaplan standard functionality to have different toggles so that you can be checking out the options, run the optimizations multiple times with different elements in there. So do I need, if I want the EMEA DC to be used, for example, in this particular case. And there are many other use cases for the optimizer. It's not just in supply planning. Pricing optimization is another one. Capacity, resource optimization, sales forecasting, and so on. And once you have it, the nice part about connected planning is that it's all available on a single platform. Now you can take these options and think about how to combine it with your financial plan and come up with your analysis. So now let's talk about AI and ML, which You guys heard a lot about from the previous section as well. So there are a lot of quotes out there, interesting ones. So Andrew Ng, who's a professor at Stanford, talks about AI is the next electricity, right? It's the new form of electricity. It's as important. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, talks about the fact that this is as revolutionary as the invention of the wheel in humankind. I wanted to take a quote from Gary Kasparov. I bet you didn't see that coming. So Gary Kasparov, as a lot of you know, was a chess champion for almost 20 years. Talk about domination in a particular field. So he was number one for, I think, all but 3 months over a 20-year stretch. And he had a lot of experience with AI, because if you recall in the mid-90s, for those of us who've been around that long, if you recall in the mid-90s, he had this big publicized, highly publicized matchup with Deep Blue, which was a computer from IBM using AI, AI as in mid-90s AI. And he beat it. But 1 year later, just 1 year later, Deep Blue beat him, and since then, humans have not been able to keep up. Fast forward 20 years, the latest AI that plays chess is now 800 points on the ELO scale above Magnus Carlsen, who's the current champion. So this AI, I think it's AlphaZero by DeepMind, was not even taught by a chess expert. It was just taught how to learn, and it learned on its own. So Gary Kasparov talks a lot about the state of AI, since he's done some deep thinking on it. He actually has a book out. It's pretty interesting. And he talks about his view of what AI is going to be. And he talks about the fact that AI will become pervasive, but he's very positive, and he's very optimistic about how humans can augment AI. And it's funny, I thought this was a great analogy for us in the planning world as well. And you heard a little bit from our previous panel. We think about it that way too. So we do think AI will become pervasive, but I think there's a strong human component that we need to be thinking about as we think about planning. So planning is what we do. So there are a lot of people inside Anaplan, our founder Michael, our chief architect Duncan, bunch of engineers, a lot of CS folks, a lot of product people who've been in this space for years and years, and we learn a lot from customers and partners as well. And we think there are a few things that are going to happen in terms of how connected planning is going to evolve and how it affects our roadmap. So we think model connections, drivers will be inferred automatically. So we have to, as we think about the next generation architecture, build the architecture in a way that accommodates that, as well as bring some of the AI components in. It will be absolutely cross-enterprise. We're already seeing that with some of our customers. You heard Dave allude to it in the video from Bacardi. They're already working with their extended supply chain with their partners, and you're going to hear about another example in the upcoming session as well, where they work with their extended distribution network to do planning. So this dynamic cross-enterprise nature of planning will, I think, absolutely be enhanced by the amount of data that you can bring in and use ML and AI technologies. Streaming real-time data will absolutely become important. So as a platform, we need to accommodate that as part of our roadmap. And I think the behaviors will change. Planners will start focusing on insights and analysis versus just bringing the content together to do the planning in a deterministic way. And decision-making will get pushed to the front line. So one of the other customers, Rommel from Unilab, when he was presenting at Hub in Vegas, he was talking about how much progress that they've made in terms of decision-making, going from planning, centralized planning, to out in the field where the folks are actually in touch with customers. And I think it's easier said than done, right? So we have to make sure that from a user experience, from a planning standpoint, we accommodate all this. So the way we are thinking about ML and AI in terms of the roadmap and our journey towards making sure that we weave all these technologies in so that we can get to the vision that was laid out earlier. We are already starting on a lot of POCs with customers, very use case specific. Let's improve the forecast accuracy of demand. Let's go figure out how to improve sales forecasting. Let's figure out how to do quota setting in a much better way than you have done in the past. Let's bring data not only from your historical data, let's get external data, make the results much better. So it's all in the context of supervised learning. It's all about augmenting insights and delivering it through our partners and CS teams. And we are partnering with companies like Google TensorFlow, for example. Google is a customer. We are also partnering with them. They're one of the leaders in ML, so TensorFlow is a great technology. But we're also exploring other technologies by other partners. So that's one aspect of what we're doing in our roadmap. The other part is we're getting those learnings and starting to incorporate some of those features by making investments in our own engineering and product teams to integrate that back into the platform. And that's when we will start getting into things like unsupervised learning, where based on the data, the machine can identify those drivers and make those connections automatically, for example. So figuring out insights from clusters, more automated insights. Natural language understanding is a more broader area that you heard from the panel yesterday, so we've been playing around with some of those technologies as well. And in the future, eventually get to this fully automated basic planning, the 80-20 concept that Anubhav talked about. We absolutely think that's where we will be heading as well. So with that, I wanted to stop here, and hopefully this gives you a quick idea of where we're headed from a roadmap standpoint. I would invite you to go see the breakout sessions. Again, a lot more detail in there in the breakout sessions. Our teams are completely charged and excited about delivering this vision with you, with your help along the way. And look forward to connecting with hopefully a lot of you during the day as well. Thank you.